Mordhau's ranked 3v3 mode has been out now for quite a bit, and I thought this is a good time to make a video with a few tips and tricks regarding this new team mode. Some of my viewers requested a 3v3 weapon tier list, so I will give you my opinion on the current weapon meta and present you a short tier list at the end of this video. So without further ado, let's get into it. My first tip for team ranked, and probably the most important one, is don't die early. Skirmishes in Mordhau are very snowbally. While a round with 6 equally skilled players has an even chance of going either way, an early 3v2 scenario changes the win probability by a lot. Probably to something like 70 to 30 or even worse. Now that you are enlightened with the knowledge that dying is bad and not dying is good, let's look at a few things you can do to stay alive longer. The most effective way to keep yourself alive longer against drags and XLs that you can't reliably read is to chamber feint to parry. With chamber feint to parries, your defensive window is about twice as long as when using only parries. I will link my video about chamber FTPs in the description below, but basically what you do is you chamber for an XL and feint to parry out of your chamber windup if you see your enemy is going to drag. Most weapon releases last 500 milliseconds. Parry and chamber windows are over 300 milliseconds each. So chaining them together makes you immune to drags and XLs, at the cost of some stamina. Another thing you can do if you find yourself dying against a certain team way too fast is equipping a shield. The round shield, with its extended parry window, can work very well. You could also take the tank perk to be able to take 1 or 2 more hits, but this will hinder your offensive potential by quite a lot, and is not very advisable, except in some rare cases. Better than relying on shields and the tank perk is to pick an opponent to your liking at the start of the round. If there is someone on the enemy team you cannot deal with at all, let's say for example a maul or mace player, just run up to someone else and leave that guy to one of your teammates. Also, if you see one of your teammates dying to the same guy each round after 5 seconds, you and your other teammate might want to take that guy off of him, to have a better chance at winning. So basically do everything you can to not get snowballed on. Winning an early 2v3 against equally skilled opponents is rough, and ends in a lost round most of the time. My next tip is to actively look for good switches. A lot of players play skirmish like 3 separate duels. Depending on your loadout, you want to look actively for switching off your direct opponent and hit a different opponent, preferably in the back. These hits are often for free and can win a round in an instant. Good for a switching playstyle is a light armor build that allows you to get away from the guy you're dueling faster. However, it is also doable with heavy armor, just not as easy. Certain weapons are better for switching than others. Long weapons like the Halberd Alt-Grip or the Zweihander excel at this kind of playstyle. Very heavy hitting weapons like the Maul can win a round by one good switch. Bear in mind that it is easier to switch if you stand with your back to the enemy, since you don't need to run past your opponent. But obviously you can't see what is behind you, so you might get switched on yourself if you're not careful. A good awareness of your surroundings at all times is very important. Also, try not to let the guy you're dueling run away and switch for free. Stay close to him if you suspect him to turn around and run away. The chase mechanic is often not enough to catch him before he can hit your teammate in the back for 70 damage. My next tip is to be flexible with your loadout. Everyone has their favorite loadout, and there are some weapons that are decent in almost every scenario, like the greatsword or the poleaxe. In certain situations, however, you put yourself at a severe disadvantage by not switching to a different weapon or armor type. Let's say the enemy team has 3 mauls with light armor. Using heavy armor here would make no sense, since you will get 2-shot anyway. Also, playing blunt type weapons against light armor is not ideal. Therefore, it is good to have a few classes prepared, since there is only a few seconds time to switch loadouts between each round. At the start of a round, it is good to pick out the opponent that your loadout counters the most. If you have an Evening Star or a War Axe, run at the heavy armor guy. If you have a Zweihander, run at the naked guy. If you have points left in your loadout, equip one-handed weapons and use them as throwables. Throwables are annoyingly strong at the moment and they should probably be nerfed somehow for ranked 3v3s, but until then you might as well use them. You can either use them at the start of a round or after you win a duel and run up to help out your teammates. If there is a 1v1 and a 2v1 going on at the same time, it is important to win the 2v1 as fast as possible, so you can help out your dueling teammate if his duel is still going on, or secure to have another 2v1 instead of a 2v2 in case your teammate loses his duel. The worst thing you can do in a 2v1 is to feed the enemy easy riposts. If you hit the enemy during his riposte, you are getting locked out of parrying his riposte. This mechanic catches a lot of players off guard and gets them killed quite a lot. As a consequence, the opponent heals from the kill and has often the advantage going into the final duel. So the basic rule is to not attack when you think the enemy will get a parry and a riposte out of it. The best thing you can do is to feint and try to bait out a panic parry. Intentional misses to bait out parries can also work, if your 2v1 partner is somewhat competent. That brings us to my last tip, which is take it easy. Solo queuing in 3v3 is not very balanced and in its current state not really the best metric to measure your skill at the game. Some games are just uncarryable and make you randomly lose up to 60 points. Nonetheless, it is nice to have a small-scale, somewhat skill-based matchmaking queue system in the game. I don't think, however, that 3v3 skirmish is the holy grail of the melee slasher genre. Almost every popular skill-based online PvP team game has a main game mode where tactic, decision making and/or some form of economy is an integral component of the game. And I hope that as the melee slasher genre matures, we're going to see more complex game modes coming up. As promised at the end of this video, I want to give you guys my take on the current 3v3 weapon meta. The strongest weapons for 3v3 right now are high damage weapons that can win rounds fast in 1 or 2 hits. These are the Executioner Sword, the Evening Star and the Maul. The Greatsword is also a top choice, due to its uncontested versatility and dueling potential. Messer, Bardiche, Zweihander and depending on the situation War Axe and Longsword are also great choices. Halberd, Velx, Poleaxe, Battle Axe and Estoc are all solid. The Polehammer, the Spear and the Billhook are a bit underwhelming for 3v3 in my opinion. The Polehammer is still very slow even after its buffs. The Spear is better suited for 5v5 and the Billhook has very low damage. If you want to use a one-hander, Mace and Warhammer are currently probably your best choices. The best perks for 3v3 are Second Wind, Stun and Acrobat. If I had to choose one of these, I'd probably go with Stun, since it gives you a guaranteed hit after a disarm. Friendly isn't really needed, since team damage is already reduced by default. Anyway guys, that's it for my 3v3 ranked guide. If you enjoyed this video, then please leave a like and consider subscribing to this channel. As always, thank you all for watching and see you soon.